Hi, I'm Nicole Roberts Jones, and welcome to The Fierce Files. Now, what I know for sure is that one of life's greatest gifts will meet you when you go after your more. And so here is why I share with you thought-provoking insight and behind-the-curtain conversations with women who have reached the pinnacle of success because they went after their more. Now, I really want you to get this. One idea from these episodes can make a remarkable difference, not just in your career, but in your life. And I want to make sure you join the conversation in our Facebook group. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com. Now grab your pen and get ready for today's session of The Fierce Files. We are replaying some of our favorite episodes from season 1. So take a listen to this episode and then mark your calendars to join us for season 2 on January 9th. Hi, this is Nicole Roberts Jones, and welcome to part 3 in our series on why you must go after your more. And this episode is how your more allows you to write your own paycheck. Now, in the first 2 parts of this series, I talked to you about your gift is bigger than your job and how it is the answer. For this third part, I'm going to walk you through how your more taps into your ability to write your own paycheck. Now, I have to tell you that I've been an entrepreneur for over 25 years, but it took me 17 years into my journey to learn my greatest lesson. And yes, I would actually say that this was another one of my soul-stirring moments leading into my more. Now, this was in 2010. Now, I started my business in 1993, and after 17 years, I accomplished much more than I expected. See, by 17 years in, I had 2 divisions in my business, and we were growing by leaps and bounds. So in one division, I had launched 10 chapters of my youth program in 10 states, and we were growing and growing and growing. And by the way, that division was a youth nonprofit. And my other division, where I worked with women just like you, I had an 100% full coaching client roster. In other words, I couldn't take another client. Great problem to have, right? So I figured I could continue to share the principles with women by writing a book. And at the same time, that book could be a fundraiser for my nonprofit, right? Well, when my book came out, I started getting invitations to speak all over the country. I was being invited to speak at women's conferences and entrepreneurial symposiums and you name it, right? Now, here's what I want you to get. I was doing the exact thing I knew I was born to do. But when I looked at my bank account, reality hit me like a ton of bricks. I was only generating $13,000 a year. And I said 13. I wasn't generating any profit. And I started thinking to myself, how did this happen? How was it that I knew I was doing and working and living in my more? And I had built a business on the foundation of being the answer to people's problems, creating programs for corporations and individuals that set them on a course to build, or I should say, to bring in millions for their businesses. But yet I was broke. See, in that moment, I realized I kept using tools that just were not sufficient on the level to which I was operating. You've heard me say that quote over and over and over again, right? And just as I shared with you in part 1 and part 2, I knew it was time for me to get some help. So I hired a coach. And to make an even longer story short, in my first coaching session, my coach pointed out my main issue right away. She said, Nicole, this is my coach talking, by the way. She said, Nicole, didn't you tell me that you were an adjunct professor at USC and now you are an adjunct professor at Boston University and what you teach is program development? And I said, yeah, I'm proud of myself, right? Then she said, and you also had a consulting practice where you worked with schools and businesses and government officials, right? Building programs. And I replied, yes, proud of myself again. And then the next thing she said to me, changed the trajectory of my business. She said, Nicole, baby, you don't have any programs. She said, the same way you've been developing new programs and new revenue streams for other people, how about you go do that for your own business? Hello, duh. How could I have missed that? And in that moment, I realized my next level of more was rumbling inside of me. And this more was also showing me how to create greater revenue, not just for me, but what I did now is a catalyst for me to create or really to help other women just like me to develop a formula, a strategy to create an empire around your expertise. And when I created that formula, I literally took the curriculum I had been using, I'd been teaching from as an adjunct professor. I took the process I had used for my consulting practice and implemented this formula in my business right away. And to make it even longer story short, I went from, now I want you to get this, just by implementing this formula, I went from 13,000 in my business to over 200,000 within a year. Whoa. See, it's the same formula that I helped Dr. Deborah Tillman create her GPS, which she calls her greater parenting system, right? That she now uses in her business. It was this same formula that I used when I worked with the Steve Harvey's team to develop the Act Like a Success division. It's the same formula that I have now coached countless corporate women to build their businesses alongside their 9-to-5 so that they could maintain their lifestyle while building their empire from their expertise. And I'm sharing this with you because what I really realized in that moment, 17 years into my business, what I realized is where I was failing was because I had been spreading myself thin, focusing on being an in-person solution to people's problems versus thinking of ways to create a formula for my expertise. And I talked about this a little bit in part 2, and I'm going to go deeper here. See, using a platform to create various ways I could serve those who needed me and really do what I call making money while I sleep. See, even further, what most billionaires don't tell people is that they have multiple streams of income, and that is why they're successful. And see, my problem was until that epiphany moment with my coach, I only had one stream of revenue. And I'm not counting my books because let me tell you, those of you that think you're going to make a lot of money from a book, unless you have a big book deal, which nowadays you don't get a big book deal unless you have Steve Harvey or Oprah Winfrey, you have some huge following. So imagine if you do $19.95 and you sell 100 books, if you sell 1,000 books, that's not a lot of money. You can't live off of that, right? See, I thought being a passionpreneur meant always being a hands-on face-to-face solution. But oftentimes, this way of thinking can lead to burnout and lack generating revenue. So when I told you a few minutes ago that I had a 100% coaching client roster, oh, by the way, I still had a daytime job when I was building my business at that time. Matter of fact, I had 2 daytime jobs working at 2 different universities. I only really had 5 clients because that's all the space I had. I couldn't take another client. So after experiencing this for myself, here are the 3 things I learned that I want to make sure you understand, whether you are in a place in your life where you're ready to begin your business or grow it, or you know that at some point you will begin a business. These are the 3 steps that you will need to move you more into your ability to write your own paycheck. You ready? Number 1, don't put all your eggs in one basket. See, when I was failing, the main reason was because I was only relying on one way to make money, which was the one-on-one model I just told you about to generate revenue. What I recognize is when you're only selling your time for dollars, you can only serve so many people, right? Because you only have so many hours in a day. And even if you have 8 hours to work, let's say we have 24 hours in a day, you work 8 hours, you sleep 8 hours, then you have 8 to do other things. Even in the 8 hours of work, I don't serve 8 people a day. I have to have time to follow up on emails and write notes and do other things to grow my business. I want you to get that. So when you're only relying on selling your time for dollars, you're already limiting the amount of money you can make. So then number 2, you've got to develop multiple streams of income. Now, I read an article in Forbes some time ago that said 8 out of 10 entrepreneurs who start businesses fail. 80% crash and burn. And one of the main reasons the article said is because of their inability to nail a profitable business model with proven revenue streams. See, what I learned, which is one of the things I love teaching at my live event, Be the Answer, what I learned is that the easiest way to make money and really to generate multiple streams of income is by selling your information, your intellectual property in instead of a one-to-one model. You've got to really look at how can you think of it and do it in a one-to-many model. Think online courses. Think online courses that are there and you record them in there and you don't have to be present for those courses, right? Think group programs, thinking one-to-many, like I can serve 20 people at once instead of limiting yourself to working with your clients one-on-one only. See, when I took my intellectual property and developed a step-by-step system for myself, which I call a fierce formula, multiple streams of income came easily. And you can do this too. How? I'm going to give you a few examples. See, once you design a step-by-step process, which again is called a fierce formula, it's really a recipe to do what you do. Each of your steps can become its own standalone online program. So let's say I have a 6-step formula, and I do, right? My fierce formula is 6 steps. Each of my steps can be 6 different online programs, or it can be an online 1-hour training. And when I say online programs, I'm not talking about a DVD you have to lug around and sell. So you got to pay for it up front. Every time you travel somewhere, you got to take a DVD with you. I'm talking just like you're online listening to this podcast. Is housing your programs online so that once someone clicks and buys it, they have automatic access by way of a passcode and they can listen to your program. Do you get that? So if a 6-step system, that means that I can have an online one audio course for each step. Another example of how you can use your formula is you can have various tiers of programming using a combination of 2 or 3 of your steps. So 2 of my steps can be my beginner course, 2 more can be my middle, and 2 more can be my upper. Do you get that? See, one program becomes a deeper dive than the next. Each step could be an individual workshop or a weekend retreat, right? Where I literally walk participants through my steps. I could go on. The possibilities is endless. You can use your formula in any way that will help move people forward. And it makes you spend less time, less energy, and you make more money. By the way, if you want to learn more about this revenue model, because I'm not going to get to dive deep into it, I want you to, I have a gift for you. I have a free webinar called Bankroll Your Brilliance. So you can go and grab that webinar. Just go to bankrollyourbrilliance.com and I'll dig deeper into the steps that you need to create a formula from your expertise, right? But let me go into step number 3, because once you have a formula, you must then create a month-to-month strategy. There's a saying, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And for years, I was failing to plan. I had no real strategy in place to generate revenue. See, once I created my formula and used it to develop multiple ways to serve those who needed me, meaning that I have multiple tiers of programming, I designed clear strategy to get to my revenue goal month over month, quarter over quarter. It's from actually having a plan, a blueprint, that I finally began to generate predictable revenue in my business. And now I'm talking about that I have months where I generate multiple 6 figures, right? I want you to get that. See, what I learned at this profound moment of more for me is that when you learn all the ways that are possible for you to serve those who need that expertise in you and move it into creating multiple ways to serve those that need it, what happens is you create multiple revenue streams easily. And here's what I hear from so many corporate women who secretly want to begin a business, but they're afraid of it. So you have a 6-figure lifestyle, and I get that. And what most people will tell you is to quit to build your business. And I say, no. What we do is build your business alongside your 9-to-5. And by having one of the models, one of your revenue models, being what I call, again, making money while you sleep, that makes it effortless for you. That means that you're sitting in your corner office and ping, you get a payment from your online program. That means you're still working for your employer and ping, somebody's still having a transformational predictable result because you have online programs and you don't have to be present to help move people forward. By the way, that was the biggest epiphany that Dr. Deborah Tillman had when she was trying to serve all those families I talked to you about in the last episode, and she couldn't figure out how she was going to clone herself. Well, she didn't have to. What she had to begin to do is create other revenue generating models, other ways to serve people where you spend less time and make more money. So I want you to get this. You're able to do what you love, but now you're able to both make a significant impact in the world and make money while you do it. And as I wrap this series, here's the biggest takeaway I hope you get. John 10:10 says, I have come that you have life and have it more abundantly. It's that more rumbling in your belly that is leading you down the path to live into your next level of abundance. And when I say abundance, of course, you know I'm talking about money, but I want to remind you that money without meaning is nothing. So an abundant life is realizing the impact you have in this world when you do more and serve more and cast your expertise net wider. It's your knowing that is bigger than anything you've ever done before, and your commitment to do it afraid, get the help you need to create the strategy to go after it. It is that will move you from ordinary into extraordinary. Now, let me caution you as you begin this journey, if you are choosing to take the mission, right? Because I think we're all Jasmine Bonds, right? Others may think you're crazy for wanting more. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'll be okay with others thinking I'm crazy, because I'm sure people called Oprah crazy for leaving her TV show to start her network. Matter of fact, I'm sure people thought Oprah was crazy when she got fired from her first reporter job and her boss told her she wasn't ready for TV and she didn't quit. See, I'm sure people thought Ava DuVernay was crazy for following her Hollywood dream of being a director when she already was a successful publicist. And I want you guys to get this. Some think that because she was already working in Hollywood, making the shift is easy. It's not. Being a publicist is totally different than being a director. And one does not they work alongside each other, but the skills are totally different. So to make that shift was not an easy one. I'm sure people in the neighborhood thought Venus and Serena's father had lost his mind teaching his girls to play tennis. I'm sure people called Beyonce's mom and dad crazy for believing in the talent of their 9-year-old daughter and pouring everything they had into it. Matter of fact, Beyonce's father quit his big job at IBM to manage her. So I'll be in the company of crazy any day if my crazy is the more rumbling inside of me and making that real. That will lead me to going after my abundantly above all I could ever ask or think. And how about you? Are you ready to go after your abundantly above all? See, I think of even my journey. Since I started to say yes to the day that started off for me in 1993 when I was 23 years old, working on the hottest TV show. And how I left all of that success, right? Well, I should say TV shows. I left all of that success, the red carpets, the premiere parties, and doing what many of my friends thought was me losing my mind to do what I'm doing now. See, I would do it all over again to be in the space I'm in now, where I simply love the work that I do. So much so that I couldn't even imagine my life without it. And that is why I'm committed to you going after your more here in the Fierce Files. See, I'm going to be having thought-provoking conversations with you to hold the space and really to train you on all the tools you need to go after your more. And then the women I will interview will share with you the journey they took to go after theirs. See, women like Dr. Holly Carter, who has built her entertainment empire on her faith, acting out her more. Women like Sophia Nelson and MNS. See, that always tongue ties me. An NBC political contributor who started as an attorney and said yes to her more because literally she went from attorney to White House journalist to now being a political contributor on a major network. Women like Valerie Rainford, who is a managing partner at JP Morgan Chase and who is pushing the corporate war to celebrate Black executives. I could go on, but the point is this. Each woman that I will have a behind the curtain conversation with, they were already successful when more came knocking on their door, when more came pushing them to expand their territory. Please know that although I may not have met many of you yet, I want you to know how excited I am that you are embarking on this journey with me, because what I know for sure is life's greatest gift will meet you on the other side of your more. And so I say to you, it's time. It's time for you to go after the abundance with your name on it, and that is why you too must go after your more. So welcome to the Fierce Files, and do me a favor, from part 1, part 2, part 3, go into our group in the Find Your Fierce Movement Facebook group and tell me the value you got out of this 3-part series where I talk to you about why you must go after your more. I look forward to hearing your comments, hearing your insight, not just from this series, but along our journey as we grow together in our community. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Fierce Files. Now, I want you to walk away from these episodes with value, so grab your pen and answer either one or all 3 of these questions. Number 1, what was your greatest takeaway? Number 2, what will you do differently as a result of what you heard? So you may have heard something you've already heard before, or you may have learned something new. Either way, don't take the insight that was shared with you for granted. So commit to doing one thing different because of what you heard. Number 3, what was confirmation for you? What did you hear that confirmed you're on the right path? See, I want you to take a moment and celebrate you. Too often in our journey, we focus on what we're not doing and we forget to celebrate what we are doing. So what was something that showed you that you're headed in the right direction? Now, I want you to share your answers. Share your answer to either number 1, what was your greatest takeaway? Number 2, what would you do different? Or number 3, what was confirmation for you? And share it in our Facebook community. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com and use the hashtag FierceFiles. Now, each experience we encourage, support, and celebrate as a community. It allows us to expand in possibility and wisdom, in encouragement and love. Now, we've invited you into our community to deepen our journey with being the answer someone needs and in being committed to your next level. So until the next time, be extraordinary, be unapologetic, be bodaciously you, go and be fierce.